What's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in to Matt's Mishmash podcast. In today's episode, I have the distinct pleasure of sharing an interview I conducted with Impossible skills trainer Zach Leach. Zach is the owner of the Hoop Lab and co-host of the Dishin Dimes podcast with Garry Linton. Zach and Garry were kind enough to let me set up shop at the lab to record my first on-site interview, and I'm incredibly grateful to both of them. My conversation with Zach is the first in a two-part series that explores the journey of young, aspiring athletes and the importance of skills enhancement as a part of that process. The second episode will feature my discussion with Garry, where we examine the challenges faced by the parents who were shepherding their children along the paths towards their athletic dreams. As sports fans, I'm sure the vast majority of us have had aspirations of playing professionally, whether it was pretending that we were hitting a Game 7 buzzer beater to win the title, or just daydreaming during class. Few among us, though, took active steps towards making those dreams into a reality, and fewer still actually reached the upper echelons of the respective sports we pursued. Simply put, becoming an elite athlete is hard, and it's getting only more difficult as advancements in training and technology provide more opportunities for the best to get better. As I've mentioned before, I looked forward to coaching my kids at the rec level to help to give them a foundation to build off of. I was hoping just to instill a strong work ethic in them, and, with any luck, to see them develop their own passion for the game that mirrored my own. What I didn't anticipate was how deeply they would fall in love with basketball, and how quickly they would develop beyond my ability to help them to improve. I recognized my limitations early on with Tim, and I knew that, for all I could teach him about the game, I lacked the necessary skill set to build his technical ability. Fortunately, we were introduced to skills enhancement training, and I saw right away that this was going to be the key to any future success my kids might have in the sport. I bought into both the mindset and the methodology of the Impossible way from that very first session, and I firmly believe that, wherever they wind up along the basketball continuum, my kids will have their skills trainers to thank for getting them there. The game has evolved so much since I first started playing 25 years ago, and skills enhancement is an integral part of every modern player's development. We've moved into an era of positionless basketball. Gone are the days when the center never handled the ball and three-point shooting was considered a luxury. Now, you have guys who are 6'10" with better handles than some point guards a full foot smaller who were considered superstars in the 90s. Players once considered unicorns are quickly becoming the norm. Karl-Anthony Towns, in particular, just won the three-point contest during this year's All-Star weekend, and you're just as likely to see him crossing an opponent up and diving to the rim for a dunk as you are watching him post up as a prototypical big man would. Victor Oladipo went from being a high-flying skywalker to a skilled ball handler and more complete player overall, thanks in part to skills enhancement. There's so much more to it, too, than simply dribbling a ball. The way Zach and Garry approach training at the Hoop Lab goes well beyond the basics. They incorporate elements that, to the uninitiated, would look completely unrelated to the game of basketball, whether it's the use of weighted tennis balls or med balls, cones or hurdles. They all serve a purpose, though, one that is centered largely upon helping players to build a greater diversity of mental and physical connections, all of which serve to make them quicker and more adept at navigating the court with the ball in their hands. One of my high school gym teachers, who played basketball professionally overseas, once told me that the best compliment that you can receive as a basketball player is when an opponent can't tell whether you're right-handed or left-handed. Ambidexterity is so much more commonplace now. Of course, you have players like Steph and Kyrie, Sue Bird and Paige Beckers who were silky smooth with both hands. But even bigger players like Jimmy Butler, LeBron, KD, and Giannis have all demonstrated that they are adept going in any direction and using either hand. It's no longer enough simply to be tall, long, and athletic. In order to succeed, you really need to develop a complete game, to fill out the tool bag with as many implements as you can. I watched Jack practicing with his travel team the other night and saw him cross a kid over and finish with a right-handed layup over a defender, and then on the very next play, when they cut off that part of the lane, he went left and attempted a left-handed layup. None of this is innate. These are things I've seen him do hundreds, if not thousands of times in the lab. My kids all have a long, long way to go when it comes to improving their games, but they've also covered quite a bit of ground over the past few years, and it's all thanks to their skills enhancement. I had the chance to sit down and speak with Zach about his journey to the Hoop Lab and to reflect on the time that my kids have spent with him. We covered everything from the varying challenges of working with NBA players to what makes the Impossible approach unique and its track record proven across the basketball landscape. We also covered some controversial topics, such as whether New Jersey, or Zach's native Michigan, does it better when it comes to everything from bagels and pizza to beer and beaches. So please enjoy my interview with Zach and tune into my next episode that will feature Mr. Garry Linton, the other integral half of the Hoop Lab equation, when we take a deep dive into what it takes to raise a D1 basketball player and the challenges we face as parents supporting our aspiring athletes along their professional sports paths. So today, I have the distinct pleasure, the absolute honor, of speaking with a true basketball artist. He's a professor of pump fakes, a connoisseur of crossovers, the sultan of skills training, and a lord of layups? He's the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Zach Leach. So how's it going, Zach?
It's going well, Matt. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Now, you're the owner of the Hoop Lab, New Jersey's premier skills training location, and co-host of the Dishin Dimes podcast with Garry Linton. How and when did you get involved with skills training?
My first time getting involved with skills training was in 2009, actually. I was going to be a freshman in high school, and that's when I met Michael Lancaster, who at the time was working with Nike and Gannon Baker, a trainer down. He resides now in Florida. Micah was the first guy to ever show us what kind of skill enhancement was. We didn't really know the definition at that time, but I just knew it was fun. It was a challenge. In my mind, it gave me the little edge over the competition that I needed, not being the tallest guy. That was my first kind of interaction with skill enhancement. Now, as a trainer, I did it right after college in around, I want to say it was 2015, 16. That's when I started getting into the certification process with Michael Lancaster at Impossible Training.
Now, what would you say separates the I'm Possible approach from other styles of skills enhancement?
What separates it is it's more detailed and it's more drawn out, meaning, rather than just calling us we're skills training and we're, giving them like a bunch of dribble moves and a bunch of combos, we really break it down to a T where we give each player 2 to 3 skills within the hour, and we're patient enough to see if they can obtain those skills and master those skills within the hour. Some do, some don't, but the beauty is they have the blueprint, so they can go home, they can do it on their own, and it just gives them, it makes them be a little bit more organized with their workouts.
I know for me, I fell in love with it the first time I saw Garry working with Tim. I was shocked when I found out that there are actually people out there who were vehemently against skills training. They claim it's either a waste of time or it doesn't work. I mean, if you have 2 eyes and a couple brain cells to rub together, it's pretty obvious that that's not the case. So why do you think skills training is important? And what would you say to someone who believes otherwise?
It's more of an individual workout where you're not just being in condition with a basketball, meaning you're just trying to sweat and get a bunch of reps of shooting, which again is important. But our definition of skill enhancement training is that we train for game specific skills, traits, and characteristics. Meaning we do stuff with our hands, with our feet, our body position, our hips, to be able to be put into positions we see, which we call snapshots. When we watch the game, to just get our players to feel what those pros are feeling, and just try to give them the proper footwork that we see. And we label everything. We have TVs on the wall where we can film on our phone and we can show them directly instead of just telling them, because a lot of people now are visual learners, including myself, and that's a huge advantage that us skill enhancement trainers have for our players.
I also think it's a really underrated aspect of what you guys do because it's feedback in real time. And I think, especially for my kids, being able to see what they're doing right and what they're doing wrong, I think it helps them to build better connections, with what you're trying to instill in them, because even if you explain it to them, like you said, being a visual learner, sometimes having the video or whatever it is to reference makes that connection happen a little bit quicker than just saying, oh, this is what you're doing wrong. Like your foot's in the wrong place. And so being able to watch themselves do it in real time, I think definitely helps. Would you say that skills enhancement is for everybody? Is there like a specific target audience that you think would benefit the most from it?
I think everybody would benefit from it. You just have to be willing to be okay with failing, because there's not a lot of players out there that are, if you're ranked or if you're at a high level, there's not a lot of players that are going to be accepting of, hey, you're doing this wrong, so let's try to fix it. Especially in the basketball world, because your athleticism, your height might take you so far, and then you have somebody like me who's 5'5", training, like a 6'6" guy, you're not in the position I was or I'm in, those things. But I think you just have to be willing to fail, showcase your weaknesses, and just being able to learn. You try to learn every day, and that's what we do. We just feed off knowledge. We give as much knowledge as we can because we're true we study the game in deeper moments of just X's and O's. We just study the individual players and how they're moving, how do they get their body in this position. That would be the big one, be acceptance of your weaknesses and failing.
Well, it's funny because that was actually my next question. Was one of the first things that really blew me away when I got to learn more about the approach that you guys take is how important failure is. I would even say it's maybe one of the core beliefs, right, of the impossible approach. And so embracing failure, what does that mean specifically? Because I think people listening may have a different understanding than I have, having watched it play out in real time.
My definition, or what we look out for failure, is just the ability to do those 2 to 3 skills that we're going for. So, for instance, let's just say we're trying to do enhance our hand-eye coordination. So we have different methods doing that, but the one that is kind of like it's getting more comfortable out there is a tennis ball workout. You see Steph Curry doing it all the time. Now, I did tennis ball workouts when I was a freshman in 2009, and Steph Curry, I believe, was in college or at that time, but there was no really tennis ball workouts being done around that time. So I'm not saying that we invented that, but we did, we have came along where we've actually instilled and done more with the tennis ball. But for the hand-eye coordination, trying to be able to bounce the tennis ball and the basketball at the same time while that tennis ball is up in the air. Can you do a low crossover? After that low crosser, can you grab that tennis ball? So, I know a lot of people say don't look down when you're dribbling, but if you think about the term hand-eye coordination, your eyes should be looking at your hands, and you got to be coordinated enough to do that. But for instance, right there, tennis balls are not game situational, but we understand why we're doing it, and I think that's another beauty thing that we do is we always have a purpose and definition of why we're doing something and what we're doing it for. So we're not just like, hey, I saw this, it works, do it,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, that's what I would say with the skills and just the brief example of the hand-eye coordination workouts that we do.
What really impresses me is just the sheer range of skill levels that you guys have worked with. I've seen a variety of top-tier high school players here in the gym, college players, and then then you got my kids coming in, maybe at the other end.
Soon to be number one.
We'll see. We'll see. So in terms of your clients, you've also worked with some high-profile individuals, correct? Either NBA players or D1 recruits?
Yeah. No, I've been blessed to expand my horizon, but yeah, no, those are fun.
So what would you say stands out from those specific experiences, right? Because you're talking about the best of the best, either at the college or the professional level. So there has to be, I don't know, a different level of absorption, right? Like, do you feel like the NBA or the college kids pick up things quicker, or do they present maybe different challenges working with them versus kids or high school players?
It's actually kind of easier working with pros and the college simply because they have a lot of weaknesses. They have a lot of flaws in their game. So I know it looks like, they're untouchable and they're crazy good at everything they do because you see all what's going on in front of you, but behind the scenes, their hand-eye coordination might not be up to the level, or, their dribble step timing might not be in sync. And these are the intangibles and those little details that we try to look for. But me saying that it's a little bit easier, they don't have the raw skill. A lot of them don't, because maybe they were blessed with a lot of height, they were blessed with a lot of athleticism, or they just have some natural talent when they were born, that they kind of just thrived on, and that's what got them to this point in time. Me personally, I like dealing with the kids, especially at a younger level. For instance, with your kids, we started with Tim. I want to say it was around like 8, maybe even younger. And then your youngest, Jack, I know he started at 6, but it's easier because they haven't developed any good or bad habits. So if you can give them the right motor skills and give them the right skills that we're aiming for through our checklist, and we have 700 skills and methods that we go to. Each time we work out, something new is always different. They never repeat a workout, but it's easier for them because Now, they get it and they're like, ooh, what's the next challenge? What's the next challenge? So they're kind of like foaming at the mouth, where that's where you can overload the skills, which we call skill stacking. So it's easier to do it with the kids because they're so skilled and they absorb so much. With the high level guys, you kind of have to take it down a notch because they're not used to the skill enhancement training with us.
Right. And I would say for them too, they sort of come in preloaded with an awareness that maybe younger players don't have, right? Like you said, like you can focus on a very specific skill or weakness in their games. So I would imagine that's a benefit, that you can have different conversations with them that, like, hey, they're going to speak the language maybe already,
yeah,
versus the younger ones. But I know for me, one of the fun things just seeing Jack, my youngest son's development, is in just the 2 years, I guess, that he's been working with you.
A year, yeah.
It's, it's very apparent the development that he's made with the pros or the college guys. Have you had any experiences where, let's say you started working out with a guy or a girl and you've seen development on their end too, where maybe now, like, things that you notice if you watch them playing, like anything that stands out? I know there's a guy who plays for my favorite team who put up 40 the other night, and you guys have to have a hand in that, I would assume, right?
Yeah. So it's actually funny. I was just about to say that, I had the pleasure to go fly down to Miami, and this is when Victor Oladipo was with Indiana Pacers at the time. But I had the pleasure to work out with Victor Oladipo and Bryce Stanhope, and even prior before that, this was Vic's second summer working out with us, but his first summer when he decided to go all in on skill enhancement training. Because again, you got to think about it. Vic is a 6'3", 6'4" guard who, at his time at Indiana, was super athletic. He didn't really have a lot of skills, so he just worked on his quickness and his athleticism getting to the rim. He's a super high flyer, but again, as your body ages, you can't do all that stuff. So in his mind, he understood, hey, my body's getting older. I got to rely on, outside shooting if I want to stay in the league longer. And he was to the point where I could definitely develop more skills. So I remember specifically talking to Michael Lancaster, who started with Victor Oladipo, and him saying, as simple as dribble step timing. So, simply to break that down, it's me dribbling left hand on my right foot. So if you ever kind of watch players, when they dribble the ball, you'll always see, if the ball's in their left hand, you should see the ball always hit the floor at the almost the exact same time as their right foot hits the floor. And then when the ball comes up, you'll see their left foot go on the floor. This is just going to naturally keep you in sync and in rhythm as you walk, jog, or sprint. And Micah said that his timing was way off. And for a player at that caliber who was a second-round draft pick, maybe even a first, but just that little detail and that small skill was missing. Once he obtained it, he started reacting a lot differently to, maybe a double team, maybe a defender who cut him off, because this situation, you can change directions quicker. You have a better sense of, stopping or going into a shot just because that timing is in sync. And, that's a very important skill that I think not a lot of people see or they overlook. And, as a NBA professional, he was missing that. Once he got that skill, he got, like I said, everything, his reaction time just became quicker. But no, it was fun being down there with Bryce and Vic. And Vic is a very funny dude. Even like after his rep, he would laugh, joke around, he would sing. But during his rep, everything, like, you just saw it click. It was game mode, whatever we were giving him at that time, everything just went straight focus. Then after the rep, he would shake it off, or he would understand what he did right, what he did wrong, have a little laugh, quick joke, and then back to it. The big thing that I got from Vic was just his mindset and his mentality of, there would be some days where he wouldn't bring in a stereo to listen to when he was working out, or some days he would bring it in and he would turn on like jazz music or something that wouldn't get him hype. And his thought process behind this is, when I'm on the road, let's say, in California or wherever they're playing, they're not always going to play the hype up songs for the visitors' team. So you have to find your own self-motivation and you have to find whatever gets you going. So if it's jazz music, if it's some opera, if that's what you have to listen to through your workouts, that might have that's what they might play in the visiting arena. So just that little, that mental check right there, that blew me away. That was a good tip from Vic.
Well, no, and it's definitely a super smart thing to do. And he strikes me as a particularly cerebral guy. And I know jazz specifically does something to the brain, right? Like it unlocks some creativity and it helps focus. I know for me, writing wise, I can't imagine writing without music in the background. And I have different styles, different things that I'll bring in. Classical music is a big deal. So I'm not surprised to see that also make its way into sports and training. And for what it's worth, Vic seems like a really easy guy to root for. I know, he was on our radar even before he got to Miami, but once he became a member of the Heat, I think Heather was the biggest cheerleader in the house for him once he was on board, and really anytime there was positive updates regarding his recovery and stuff, it was taken really well in the house. And then to see him, finally make it to the floor and look great and have that phenomenal game the other night, it was exciting for us. And it's great to hear you talk about, the fact that there were some deficiencies in his game and that, he had, despite just the raw athletic ability and natural talent, that there were things that he could work on. Because I know it's frustrating for me to hear people have this misnomer of, oh, well, a guy like Kyrie or a guy like Steph Curry, it just comes naturally to them. And I think that's a load of crap because yes, there's got to be some sort of innate natural talent, right? That does help to separate them, but it completely discredits the work that they put in. I mean,
yeah. No, I mean, you're absolutely right. Because I think from the average eye, you only get to see the show, right? So whatever's broadcast and in front of you. Our jobs as trainers, we get to see what's behind the scenes. The waking up in the morning, the failure, the struggle, and these guys put themselves through a lot. Even through in season and off season. Because they're always trying to find new ways to get better. Simply at that. To your point, I think people just only see what's live. And they don't get to see the beauty behind the scenes, behind the curtain, as they, work and they try to, develop their game to the highest level that they possibly can.
Yeah, there's like a disconnect, I feel, where people don't understand, like especially a guy like Vic or PJ Tucker on the Heat. We just saw something recently where they were discussing the challenges they faced just in their upbringings, not even just with basketball, but just life in general. And it's easy to forget, like, oh, these guys are, multimillionaires or superstars or whatever. But, some of them really had to fight and claw their way to get there. And it just frustrates me, to see how dismissive and flippant people can be with like, oh, well, it must be easy for them. And it's not, especially a guy like Steph or Kyrie. I think that's what mastery of a craft really is, right? It's when you're able to make it look completely effortless when it's anything but. And so I know for those guys, there has to be more to their stories in terms of the work they put in, the training they do and everything. Obviously, I can't speak for anybody but myself and my kids, but Tim, Sarah, and Jack, they've had this dream of playing professionally or playing in college. And to see the development they've made so far, it sort of speaks for itself. I mean, all three of them have made travel teams or competitive teams a year, if not 2 years older. I know Jack's a 7-year-old playing on a 9U team, and I credit that entirely to the work that they've done with you and Garry. And what's funny is both Tim and Sarah's first ever skill sessions were with Garry. And within like the first 2 or 3, it just so happened that at the facility, they were the only ones that showed up for that session. So it wound up being a private one. And I remember with Sarah specifically, he did this like 2-ball drill with her. And I was like, oh man, there's no way she's going to be able to do that with 1 ball, let alone 2. And she did. Yeah. And it was crazy. But speaking specifically about Garry, what's it like working with him and sort of co-training together in the Hoop Lab?
Oh man, I'm originally from Michigan, but Garry and I are literally the long lost brothers. It's been so fun. We've just passed our 1-year anniversary, and just working with Garry for that year. I mean, it's I can't believe I've gone this long without him. No man, we thrive off of each other. He said it the other day. He learns from me on the court of the skill enhancement, and I am learning everything off of the court from him, business wise, podcast wise. I'm helping him out with his social media. His social media game's a little weak, but no, man, it's fun. It's a joy to wake up, to do to do what you love every day for the job, for your job and for your career, but to do it with somebody who shares the same passion and the same ideas, and you can constantly have great days with them, and you can explore and experiment. That's just the icing on the cake. I'm so blessed that Gary's here. Yeah, man, it's every day is something new. Whether we create our own language, we mess with the kids mess with us. Man, no, it's fun. It's truly. I don't know where I would be without Garry, man. It's good.
It's pink lemonade, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Actually, let's rewind a little bit and talk about how Hoop Lab came to be. So you moved to Jersey from Michigan when?
I moved to New Jersey in 2017, October, I believe it was.
Okay, so October 2017. Can you walk us through the timeline of how you wound up coming out here in the first place, and then everything that sort of rolled through?
Yeah. So there was a potential partnering with a gym located just south in Toms River, and they wanted to partner with Impossible and become a licensing gym, and for some odd reason. They requested me to be the head trainer, and like I said, I just started around like 2016, so I don't even think I had a full year of skill enhancement training under me. But talking with Micah, talking with the owner of the New Jersey gym, and my family. We came to the conclusion of it's a win-win, meaning if I move out, it works, great. If I move out and it doesn't work, I just come back and, work at the world headquarters again under Micah. So I think the turning point was Bryce Stanhope was out here. He's a Michigan guy. We actually played in the same conference in New Jersey or in Michigan in college, but he was actually 4 years older than I was. So when I was when I was a freshman, he was actually going to be a senior, but he moved to New Jersey and started training right then. So I didn't get a chance to play him, but I knew him growing up. But yeah, so I went on a limb. I was like, let's do it. Everything was going great, and then my friend Bryce ended up moving to Miami because your guy Victor Oladipo partnered with Impossible, and they created the Victor Oladipo Skill Lab underneath, with Micah and Vic, and Bryce actually had to be the got the opportunity to be the head trainer down in Miami, so he moved, which put me in Bryce's position, and that was hard for me because Bryce was that guy that I kind of like, it was my family out here. I didn't have anybody. It was just me. So me going into Bryce's position, I kind of was what was I, 25 at the time. I was feeling a little homesick. Everything, all my friends, family is in Michigan, so I was actually going to move back, and talking to Micah, talking to my family, I decided to see if I could just do it one more year on my own, see if I can, because there was a lot of relationships and bonds that I created out here, just being out here for 2 years, and so I was like, what the heck, let's try it, and that's where I started renting gyms and just meeting more clientele, having the same clients, that I met, having the same relationships, and yeah, man, it ended up working out, and I ended up finding a great location, and that's when I kind of just put all my chips in and started building Hoop Lab. And during my time when I kind of filled in for Bryce, that's when I met Garry. Gary's a local New Jersey guy, and his daughter went through the process, which is really awesome because she got a Division I scholarship to play at Kent State University, so she's been through the program. But yeah, so started the Hoop Lab journey, and I started my own business in 2019, my own LLC, but the Hoop Lab, kind of just developed from there, and, that's where we are.
Well, I know for me, me and Heather specifically, we couldn't be more grateful that you made the decision to stay, because I didn't know what we were going to do without you, and it was going to be a very long drive to get to Michigan to do training, man. So I'm grateful that you stayed local. And actually, it's cool. I'm sure that there's a certain built-in level of competition within, the field that you're in. It's also collaborative, right? Like obviously, like we said, you got involved with Garry. I know when you were at Monroe, that was where we met Sarah Dessner, and that's just been an incredible experience for us, for Sarah, my daughter Sarah, because she was able to try out for and make her Shore Aces team, and that's just been the highlight of Sarah's basketball experience. And then just other people and places and stuff. But it's really cool that you have your own place specifically. First of all, congratulations and happy anniversary on that. I remember coming in and getting to check it out as it was literally being built, and the super amazing floor that you guys got put in, and the hoops and stuff. What does the future look like for Hoop Lab? Because right now you guys are doing skills training programs, like classes and private trainings and stuff. What do you guys have on the horizon in terms of programs and stuff?
Right now, I mean, I still believe there's a disconnect with players and parents out here of actually what skill enhancement training is. And what we do. I think a lot of people have a sense, since Bryce has been out here for I think like 5-6 years, and then I kind of took over. But there's nothing really. I don't think there's anybody. Well, I know that there's nobody in New Jersey that does what Garry and I do. And so right now, I mean, I think just keep getting the word out of how this will actually develop your player skill-wise, rather than getting him, just like I said, before, a conditioning workout, a basketball, running with the basketball. That I would say, just keep getting the word out. I know that I have some plans. I think New Jersey, they have, and I know I'm just kidding here, but I feel like every week there's a new AAU team that pops up. So I know that they love their hoops out here. I think they're just maybe doing it in a wrong direction, if you can say that, because the way that I grew up and how Michigan is, there's not a lot of AAU teams, but there's also a lot of open gym time, and there's also a lot of time to play 3-on-3, which I think is missing in New Jersey. So my vision, my goal is to hopefully start a 3-on-3 tournament in the summer, outside, where you're playing in the sun, on concrete. You're building your toughness or your aggression, and in 3-on-3 you can't really hide. So on 5-on-5, when you're playing full court, you get a chance to kind of just run to the corner and stand there and just watch the naturals, or the people that put in the time with the ball. But on a 3-on-3, you're in a half court, you have one sub, you can't hide. And it's good because you get to a lot of the individual time, and you get to work on more of like the one-on-one. I know they say basketball is a 5-man sport, but when you actually break it down, there's 4 people on defense, or there's 4 people on help side, one person's guarding you. You have to get by your guy to create for others. So, and technically in that, it's one-on-one. I have to beat this guy. If I can beat this guy, that's going to draw a double team. Then I can dish it out, for an open shot, or maybe have him, my next player, create a play. So I think just in that aspect, I think that's what New Jersey's missing, and that's what I hope to bring here. And I think players are going to get a lot more out of it, simply because you're not traveling, let's say, to other states, and you have 4 games on the schedule, but maybe you average 5 minutes the whole weekend. So it's almost like, I don't want to call it a waste, but it's almost like you're kind of just wasting time, just traveling, sitting, and maybe dribbling the ball a couple times, maybe getting 1 or 3 shots up the whole weekend, and then calling it a weekend. So that's my big vision right now. That's the big goal. Hopefully we can, after that, make an empire out here of Hoop Lab, and just get, a big enough court where we can, we can do our 3-on-3s inside, get more rims in here, and obviously just keep growing.
Yeah, I know for me, the one event I would love to see in terms of like the NBA and the WNBA would be a crossover event with like a 3-on-3 tournament, because I think just the talent on both sides. Imagine Sue Bird and Stewie, paired up with like Karl-Anthony Towns, right, going up against whoever. Like it would be a lot of fun. And I agree. I know growing up in Brooklyn, they had the Hoop It Up tournament, which was always a big deal. And you've seen in recent years the explosion of maybe not celebrity, right, but like more high profile 3-on-3 3-on-3 tournaments and stuff. And I definitely think the format works. And yeah, that'd be cool. They got to clear out all the McLarens and the Lambos from the parking lot if you guys are going to do it out there.
You know what's funny? I'm actually those are big basketball fans, so I'm sure they would even get their own team and close down for the weekend just to play in it.
Yeah, whatever helps. All right. So something a little fun here. You've been in Jersey for a minute now, long enough to make informed decisions about some really critical, important things. You're also a proud Michiganite. Michiganian? Michigander. Okay.
Yeah, there you
a
go.
Michigan, not a Youper, right? You're
Not a
from
Youper, nope.
The southwest of.
If I was a Youper, I'd be hunting and fishing in the freezing snow on the lakes, but that's not me. I don't like the cold.
Right. So let's do a quick game of who does it better. All right, between Michigan and Jersey. And again, these are the things that some people live and die by. So we'll start with the easy stuff. We'll go with bagels first. Who do you got?
I got to go with New Jersey. I don't remember having really any bagels. Bagels are not huge in Michigan, so definitely New Jersey.
What's the go-to if you have a favorite bagel?
Oh, man. A chocolate chip bagel. And I put egg and bacon and just load that thing up with meat and red hot. Definitely red hot.
Let's go. How about pizza?
This is a tough one for me because being in Michigan, I was introduced to deep dish. Oh, man. I would have to go with Michigan on that one. I know, like the slices out here are thin, and I don't know. Like to me, when you pick up a piece of pizza, you want that thing to kind of like not fold over.
Right.
So like, I always have to ask now for like extra meat, or I don't even know, like well done, and just get them crispy. But yeah, I'd have to go with Michigan on that.
Oh, it's funny. The first family road trip Heather and I did with Tim, he was, I don't know, maybe 15 months old or something like that. But we went up to Chicago. We ultimately did Chicago, Milwaukee, and Minneapolis. But that was my first time having like legit deep dish pizza. And it's weird. Obviously, it's pizza, but there's so much going on there. I don't even know if I would consider it pizza. It's like a meal unto itself, So, yeah. But I've noticed recently, too, like all of a sudden there was like a Detroit-style pizza, and there was another random one recently that, like, I don't know, I kind of feel like everybody's starting to get in the game where, they're trying to lay claim to their own different styles of pizza.
Yeah. Well, I don't know anything about the Detroit style, but that Chicago deep dish right there, whew, that thing will fill you up for like a week.
Now, this one I'm actually torn on because I don't know what my answer would be. What about beer? I don't know if you're a big beer guy, but we've talked a couple of times about different breweries and stuff. What do you got there?
I was actually never into like the brewery beer. I didn't start drinking until like I was like almost out of college. Like it was crazy. Now that I'm a little bit older and I'm expanding my horizons, I know Grand Rapids has Founders, and I love the Robeus that they have. I don't think I've been to many breweries out here yet, so I'd have to say Michigan on that one.
All right. Hey, well, you know what? Hey, maybe we change that this year, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
We got to get back out there. All right. Now, this one might sound random, but I think it's important. How about the seasons, right? So you're a beach guy now living here. So would you take a Michigan summer or a Jersey summer?
Oh, definitely a New Jersey summer. Even though like in the summers, that's like my crazy time working out players. Definitely, I would say New Jersey. Even at night, you have that like nice little maybe breeze or no breeze at all, but it's like you can open up all the doors and the windows and, kind of just relax with it. But yeah, and you have the ocean out here, which is nice. I mean, when I lived in Michigan, we were probably like 30 minutes away from Lake Michigan. To me, that was a beach, but actually living in New Jersey, this is a beach. But New Jersey on that one.
Yeah, but I don't think people realize just how ridiculously huge the Great Lakes actually are. Like when you're there, like it looks like you're looking out at the ocean. Even Lake Erie, if you're in Cleveland, you're looking up that way.
Yeah.
And I can only imagine, in the summer, Lake Michigan's got to be super busy and popping.
Yeah, there's a lot to do over in they call it Grand Haven. I mean, it's almost just like any beach town in New Jersey. I mean, when it's winter, nothing going on, but as soon as that spring hits, that thing is flooded.
Now, I'm biased as a photographer because I love fall in and around New England. New Jersey and New York are really good, but like if you can get up to Vermont or Maine, especially, like the colors and stuff are nuts. What's autumn like in Michigan?
Autumn to me in Michigan is football season.
Okay. Oh, okay.
So me growing up, you just kind of got pumped because it's college football. You got to play football. I would say autumn in Michigan is probably one of my favorite seasons right there.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, I know this guy I'm looking at here probably would love it up there, right? A little bit cooler.
Yeah, Apollo is my four-legged son. This is my dog here, but he likes, it's funny, he loves to swim. So anywhere that there's water, that dog just jumps right in.
And he's a little bit of an internet social media sensation himself, isn't he? He has his own IG page, right?
He does have his own IG page. People hype him up.
Oh, I love it, man. Well, I tell people all the time that my kids wouldn't be where they are without you and the work that you and Garry have done with them over the past few years. You guys are helping them have a realistic chance of realizing a dream that, I had as a kid, so it's like twice as important to me. But someday they want to be college or maybe even professional players, and I just want you to know that Heather and I and all 5 of us are fans for life, man. And hopefully someday they'll be giving you a shout out from a draft night stage. So I wanted to thank you for all the time that you've put in with them, and just to tell you guys how excited we are to see the process so far and to be as excited as we are about what's coming up for the future. But for other people, potential clients, or anyone who's interested in learning more about either skills enhancement or just the Hoop Lab, what's the best way for people to get in touch with you guys and to get info?
Well, first, I want to give a shout out to you and Heather because, there was days when it's 87 degrees on a Saturday at, noon. And, like you stated earlier, you guys are the only ones in the gym with us. So, just that dedication alone, just even from the kids saying, hey, let's go work out, that's huge. And I don't think a lot of players have that mentality or that drive because, in New Jersey, if you're born here, I feel like, when the summer hits, you want to go out to the beach, which is fine. But your kids stand out alone. And even just from you and Heather, man, just dedicating your time, sacrificing some, your Saturdays, Sundays. We can't thank you guys enough. You guys are the prototypical gym rats. The 3 and you and Heather.
No, well, I appreciate that because I feel like I just have to be hard on my kids. Like, it's tough for me. It's not tough for me to see, their progress and see their hard work and appreciate it. It's more looking ahead. Like, I try not to buy into any hype with them because I feel like that's a slippery slope. When you start thinking that your kids are the best or whatever, it just, for me, it's detrimental. So I got to tell you, I know they especially appreciate it, when you guys give them credit or give them, a little confidence boost, because it makes it easier for me to, take a breath and not be so hard on them. But I remember one time, I just gotten done yelling at them for, messing up with their layups and not focusing, forget about finishing with their offhand, just finishing, with their main hand. And they came out after a session and they were like, oh, Dad, the guy in the Eagles uniform, the guy in the Eagles sweatpants and hoodie was telling us how great we were with our layups and stuff. And I was like, what are you talking about? And I look at it's Darius Slay from the Philadelphia Eagles. And I was like, all right, you know what? He's more of an expert on athleticism than I'll ever be. So maybe I can, give you guys a little more credit than I was giving you.
Yeah, no, I remember that day. It was funny because you just had that conversation with me. I remember that. And, from even a NFL star, complimenting your kids. Like I said, they're one of the hardest workers. Your kids are. So that was good to see. And then you just saw, their confidence boost. And yeah, no, man, that was good. I like that.
Well, it was a turning point for me, actually, because I realized I was like, all right, there's got to be more middle ground here, because I don't want them to wind up resenting me as, a taskmaster and I'm constantly, on them. I felt like I needed to reflect a little better and find a way to give them more encouragement and to accept, maybe off days, right? Or understanding that it may be 2 steps forward and 1 step back, but they're still making progress, And so I'm learning too, man. This is a process for everybody. And so it's important for me to be reflective and to be able to adjust in the process. But I also, aside from wanting to thank you for coming onto my podcast, I wanted to give you guys a shout out. Can you tell us a little bit about the Dishin Dimes podcast?
Yeah, so we actually just released our 12th episode. It's going really, really well. Dishin Dimes is about about how we kind of go through skill enhancement, but more importantly, how we we're just kind of spreading our voice to maybe help players, but ultimately we're just trying to change the mindset for parents of how to look at the game of basketball. Because I think basketball itself, a lot of people say it's an easy sport and you just got to shoot, and just put the ball in the bucket. But it's more complex than that. What we really break down, we go through different topics every week. The feedback that we've got from a lot of parents changing their mindset of maybe putting a lot of pressure on the kids or not allowing them to fail. They've kind of stepped, not even one step back, but they've taken a multiple steps back of like, hey, maybe I should take it a little bit easy, because you kind of have to remember as a parent, when you were a kid, you didn't succeed right away. There was a lot of failures, and probably even, now, like, if you're, and I mentioned this on one of my podcasts, getting a job or getting to a high level, you had to go through some ups and downs, some failures to get where you are now. And if you try to only make everything right for your kid, they're going to be afraid to fail, and they're going to be constantly afraid of taking risk. Where, if you're a risk taker, you can learn from it, and you have to learn from your failures to succeed. But a lot of we choose a different topic every week, and we really break it down to help any and all listeners, from parents, players. We have a great following overseas, and like I said, the feedback's been great. Every week, Garry and I, we get on there and we do our thing.
Well, I mean, since St. Patrick's Day alone, I can think of 3 different instances where I came into the lab and there was a parent that was talking to one of you guys and saying, oh man, like, I got to thank you. Like, I listened to that podcast and I really took a hard look in the mirror, and like, it made me, change. And one guy, I was surprised because I know he was harder on his daughter, who's a phenomenal player. I mean, just watching her progress through here has been amazing. But even he was like, you know what, there's things that I need to change. And I know it's frustrating. See, this was where I was stuck in this like weird gray zone, I guess, because there was a parent that I've seen at different skills training sessions, not just here, but, at Monroe and other places, who is really, really, really tough on their kid. And what bothered me about it was sometimes it's abusive language, or sometimes it's just, being unable to give praise where it's due and accept maybe mistakes or shortcomings along the way. And so I do think that your podcast is having a positive impact in that regard, because even though that parent's the only one that I've seen, I'm sure there are plenty more that go at their kids the exact same way. For me, I've always been incredibly driven, just innately driven. I've never needed, I shouldn't say I've never, but there came a point where I stopped needing my parents, my coaches, my teachers to motivate me. It was always inborn. I have the opposite problem, and that's where Heather and I are a good balance, because she knows how to relax. I just learned that that's a thing, apparently.
Yeah.
I don't do that very well. And so with me and my kids, that's really more what it is. It's like, I never let myself really take a day off. I've had to learn to accept that with them. And that's something that I think, you guys have covered on the podcast. And I think it's really important for people to learn, because I know it's something that I had to.
Yeah.
And I think that's great.
Yeah. Well, I mean, going back to your point, I mean, I think, there was a time, there's always going to be a time where something clicks, right? So you just said that you had that moment. I can specifically remember mine was going into my 8th grade year, and I kept getting a cramp. And it was because I kept drinking pop or soda for you East Coast people. It just kind of clicked to me like, hey, I don't like this feeling when I'm working out. So how do I avoid this feeling? Stop drinking it. So that was, kind of the mindset. But it took me until 8th grade to kind of do everything on my own. So, that's what I try to tell parents, like, hey, listen, like, you're putting a lot of pressure on your 9-year-olds, your 10-year-olds. Let them, it's okay to like challenge them mentally and kind of put them through a physical workout or whatever. But you kind of just have to let them experiment and experience things on their own, because it might be until their 8th grade year. It might not even be until, they get to senior and everything clicks. So you never know when it's going to click. I don't know if you remember your click moment, but it took, a while. It took some time. And that's the big thing that we just try to tell a lot of parents, they're not gonna win their 10-year-old championship and remember it when they're a senior. Really, that's awesome at 10 years old, but what are you actually accomplishing? You get a cotton t-shirt that says champions on it, or you get your picture taken. But like I said, when you're a senior, you can't rely on hey, college coach, I won this championship when I was 10 years old, but I don't really have anything to do now. So you kind of just want to be able to, you have to look for the future. And I know that's hard because you're living in the now, especially with players. You just always have to have that future in mind. Like, hey, I know I'm doing this for a certain reason.
Yeah, no, the why is super important. I just read Chris Bosch's book. I don't know if you've checked that out, but if not, I would highly recommend it because that's one of the things he goes into. It's about finding your motivation, but it's got to go beyond just the simplistic stuff, right? The fame, the money, the celebrity, all the stuff that goes along with it. You got to have something that really burns in your belly. And I mean, I don't even know if personally I ever had the why moment. I remember in kindergarten coming home with my first test in tears because I got an 88 and I didn't get 100. My mom tells me that all the time. And but that's the problem for me is that's my mentality. I've literally always been that way. And so it's been sort of horrifying when I'm like, oh crap, well, how do I translate that desire to my kids without burning them out? Because that's the biggest fear is I don't ever want them to resent me. I don't ever want them to resent the sport. And it's trying to find a balance. Like that's why they do flag football, right? Mm-hmm. It's tough now because, we've got all the AAU teams and practices and stuff, but it's important that they have that outlet too, where they're just with their friends. And it's not that they don't work hard because they do. They work just as hard in flag practice as they do AAU or travel or whatever it is. Mm-hmm. But I love the fact that you guys really foster a positive, healthy mental attitude here where you guys don't accept anything less than their best, but it's never approached in a negative way. Mm-hmm. It's just, hey, some days you got it, some days you don't. This is the bar and it's not going any lower. And I think that's really, really important, especially for kids to understand.
Yeah. And that's the two biggest things that we ask is just their energy and their effort. We could care less how many times you fail. We could care, it's awesome to see you succeed, but there's a fine point of like you succeeding and not giving it your full effort or your energy, right? So it's like me walking through a method or a drill and me making every shot, like that's great, but I'm doing it at a very slow walking pace. Like I'm trying to be very cautious and not make mistakes. We don't want that. We want full energy and effort, and that's all we ask.
Yeah, and I know it's crazy because when Tim started, there was a kid Remy in the class, and I was like, okay, that's my target. Like when Tim is that kid's age, I want him to be able to do certain things or look a certain way, and he's met and surpassed that. And then you look at Sarah too. I think she gets overlooked a lot because she's a girl and because of maybe just how she looks. And so to see her be able to come in and do things with both hands, and Jack, if there's one testament to the work that you guys have put in with him, it's the sheer number of compliments that he's gotten on his left hand. Because I just showed a video recently of his first skills training session with you, and he couldn't do anything with his right hand, and that was his dominant one. Yeah. So the fact that he's able to do all that stuff now, it's because of just the full picture, everything that you guys promote and the philosophies and then just the hard work. And I'm grateful for the years that we've had so far, and I'm really excited and looking forward to everything that's coming up.
Yeah, no, I'm excited.
And I'm especially thankful for today. I know, you've got a lot going on, and the fact that you were able to take time to talk to me on my little podcast here, I really, really appreciate it. So I want to say thank you to Zach Leach and to Garry Linton for letting me temporarily, use his space at the Hoop Lab. Hopefully we'll get Garry on soon too, huh?
Yeah, let's do it.
Do a crossover event.
Let's do it.
But thank you for talking to me on the Mishmash podcast, and thank you to everybody for listening wherever and whenever you are.